called to where we all are being called. Isn't that right?
That's right.
We say we are all returning. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. From Allah we come, and to Allah we are all returning. Not in the physical sense, right? We know it's not the physical return, but it's the return to that original origin from which we came.
Right.
And when we say our prayers, we're reminding ourselves constantly of that origin. We're looking at our physical origin. Our eyes are focused on our physical origin, right? Constantly throughout our prayer. Because it too is a very honored sight. We have Hajis here returned from the Hajj. And we pray Allah to reward their Hajj and give them great blessings for their Hajj. And surely it's promised that the Hajis, many of us are Hajis, we thank Allah for that. That Allah says we returned as ones purified. Purified means you've come closer to your original form. Our original form is righteousness. Our original form is submission to Allah. Our original form is being conscious, having taqwa. We will do what's called the Janazah, Salatul Janazah, which is done with no adhan, no iqamah. The believers, we form ranks as we normally do as a community, united for a purpose, facing the Kaaba, the Qibla, that Allah has set for us for the direction of our prayer, regardless of where we are. It's the direction to which we turn. So we begin with just saying, God is greater. How else will we begin without acknowledging that God is the greater, and from which all things come? And in after that first takbir, it's called a takbir, glorification of God, we recite the Fatiha, the opening surah of the Quran, the prayer that we all say, and no prayer is valid without a Fatiha. Then the Imam, we're following the Imam, we're always following someone that represents the direction. We're not following his person, we're not following his individuality, we follow him as a symbol that truth has been revealed to human beings. So that should be clear.
That's right.
That in that sense that every prayer is valid. Not just the prayer of the Imam, but the prayer of every individual as it's combined and integrated into a group, so it's a group prayer. And it's very honorable that Imam Omar has chosen that we come together for this occasion. Yes. And that we always be mindful of those who make major contributions. And as he mentioned, the early Sahaba of the Prophet, prayers and peace be upon him, how endeared they were to the message, how endeared they were to him because the message was coming to him. Allah had chosen him, so they endeared to him. And they realized that their whole life was improved by him, so they were willing to sacrifice anything of the life they had. Time, wealth, energy, whatever they had to sacrifice, they were willing to sacrifice. So we have to keep that also in mind, that we're inheritors of that great tradition. And this Janazah prayer is part of that great tradition.
That's right.
So we say Allahu Akbar, God is greater, and we say Fatiha, the first surah of the Quran. Then we say the Salatul Ibrahimiyya, which we were taught. Some of you remember, the first time I heard that was from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Oh Allah, make Muhammad successful in the Father. Don't tell me I don't have no witnesses in here. I ain't the only one. As Imam Omar said, Brother Abdul Halim, who came, and my big brother Imam Tariq, they were holding the door when I came as a young 18-year-old. So I know where I'm at. And we're continuing the wonderful tradition that Allah chose to say, choose the black people over in America, give them this blessing. And it's reached us today. And we're celebrating the life of one of those who, when I came in, he was the first officer, first lieutenant. Yes, sir. Ibraham Pasha.
Wow. Yes, sir.
And he to this day, he remained faithful to this cause.
Yes, that's right.
That's right.
So the third takbir. Third takbir is where we're going to make our dua, sincere prayer in our hearts, in our language. And Allah has all languages. He created all languages, right?
Right.
To forgiveness for his soul.
Yes.
And to grant him the high place in paradise. And to give him new relations. And give him extended family. And to give him a broad space to dwell. Give him honor. Give him the most honorable reception. And to purify his soul from all sin.
Yes, sir.
And Allah has the power to purify.
Yes, sir.
He wants us to know that. He doesn't like us if we forget that.
That's right.
The Prophet ﷺ, he said, the believer comes to prayer and leaves without asking for something. Allah frowns on that. That's your Lord and my Lord, right?
That's right.
Lord means he's the one that always has ready to give. Sins, that's no big deal for Allah. Sins is no big deal when he created you from a pure soul, from pure life, from pure soul, that he created us to be honored, to know him. Sins can't stop that. So we're praying to Allah to wipe off the rest of those sins, right? On our brother. And to give him the best and honor paradise.
That's right.
Then our last and fourth takbir, final takbir. Who do we pray for? Ourselves.
That's right.
Never neglect the fact that we need also to supplicate on behalf of ourselves. Our limitations, right?
That's right.
Our weaknesses, our faults, our sins, our mistakes, our errors as human beings.
That's right.
So pray for ourselves, individual selves, and our group, our community.
That's right.
We continue to pray for our community and those that come to our community, that we can be of some service to them, some service to humanity.
That's right.
And let us never forget that Allah says, one day, he said, you're going to see something. What did he say you're going to see? He said, you're going to see the people entering into Allah's religion in great numbers. So we're never intimidated by any passing incidents or occurrences in the world. Because ultimately, it returns everything returning to Allah. So let us stand and form our ranks and make our Salatul Janazah and make our niyyah, our intentions, to perform this Salatul Janazah, this prayer, for our brother Imam Ibraham Pasha. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Again, if anyone would like to come up to have some words to say about our brother, I can't remember exactly what rank that he had during the time of the Nation of Islam, but I do remember him being a part of my life, as my father was part of the circle of leadership also, to extent. So, Sister Zakia. Yes.
Assalamu
Waalaikumsalam.
First, I would like to thank Brother Omar for having this Janazah prayer for Imam Pasha. He was very dear to our community, and I remember him quite well and with great affection for him. I remember him as a child, I remember him as I was growing up, and I remember him as being a dynamic Imam under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as Imam W.D. Muhammad. When he taught, he could bring you to your feet just like that. Because for the simple reason, he has so much spirit in his body that everyone felt it. And when he taught, all that spirit came out. And that's what I remember about Imam Pasha. Pasha was a very quiet person, but a diligent person. All you had to do is tell him what you needed. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad could send word to him, tell Pasha, blah, 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 we need this done. It got done. I always said that in the FOI, with Elijah too, as they call him, or Elijah Jr., he was captain, and Pasha was first lieutenant, and then all the other lieutenants came under, which everybody remember Imam Qasim, Larry, back then, and Brother Edward 23. They were all lieutenants, and under him and over them was Pasha. So anything that they want done, and that includes Captain Muhammad, they would just tell Pasha and it got done. So I always said that they were the muscle and he was the brains behind the muscle. And so he literally got everything done. I mean, from organizing and controlling the Islamic conventions back then, it was Savior's Day. But everything fell into line, and he was the one that coordinated it all. And so I will miss him. I remember him when he got married. He was married to his wife at that time, Noveen. She changed her name to Farida. And they've been married ever since. And to his return to Allah, they had a beautiful family. And he was faithful under Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he was faithful under Imam W.D. Muhammad.
Yes.
And when anything went down, in the nation. When we had that shooting at our school, he was the first one out, and the order came to the Muhammad Speaks, and we were all in a circulation office. Them brothers ran out of that room and so quickly. Bacha was the first one, and all the lieutenants behind him. And he was in that school dodging bullets. And so, and one of our ministers got hit, and that was Imam Yusuf Shah.
Right.
And so he was there, and it wasn't that he was always the pencil man. I mean, he was a soldier. He was a soldier on the field. He was a soldier behind the field. And he was just never, you know, failing when he went to, when he was here. Like he said, the brother that was on the bakery truck. And my husband was on that bakery truck, and he's the one to talk, Brother Halim, and then Halim taught the other brothers. And that was another thing too, brothers shared what they knew. They shared their experiences, they shared whatever talents they had, and they took you by the hand, and they shared everything. And sisters felt protected. I also heard when he passed, I prayed so hard for Allah to bring him out of that condition that he was in. Because it makes you feel like part of your protection was taken away. And that's how we felt back then. And now too, because if it wasn't for the community, we would be lost. But we felt that protection. Back then, no one messed with us. Sisters could walk down the street. I don't care how many gangbangers were out there. Believe me, we had gangbangers back then just like we have now. Them gangbangers would not bother us. They would not try to insult us. Even if they tried to approach us. They own gangbangers and they own drug addicts and alcoholics. Don't talk to that sister. The FOI will get you. And they were right. They would get you. A sister had to call me, and my husband hit me. Don't ever do that in the Nation of Islam. Because the FOI will come after you. And they did go after those brothers. And after that, they never did anything else. You know, they never touched the sister because they had to answer for it. We were a police within a police.
That's right.
When we had big events, and we had thousands of people, 10,000s of people come to Chicago for our Save These Days. The police will come to the officials, such as Bacha, Captain Elijah Muhammad Jr., and say, what do you want us to do? Where do you want us to set up at? They did not dictate to the FOI, like, well, you need to seal the end of this street, and you need to do this. They just asked them, what perimeter do you all want us to cover? And they just did it. So I thank Allah for Imam Bacha. He was such an inspirational person in my life, and I thank him very much, and he will be missed. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a little bit of a different perspective. I grew up with the Bacha family too, and I, just as of a couple of days ago, I thought that Ibraham Pasha Jr. and I connected like in preschool, first, second, third, fourth, fifth grade, sitting right next to each other. And we were so close that when I was tired of home, you know, I would go to my home away from home, which was the Bacha's house. So we would be jumping into beds and sleeping, you know, and just doing it, man. You know, that was a very, 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 very close family. And Sister Queen, who was at the school store, the grandmother, you know. Yes. Imam Bacha, you know, I had so much, it affected me so much that I got my first job after working with Sadiq Salad World, our family business, and I saved up enough money to get a skateboard after they had moved to Atlanta because Imam Muhammad, you know, assigned him to either go to Atlanta or California. And he said, well, no, I want to choose Atlanta. You know, I'll take Atlanta. And he went down and kicked off the Atlanta Masjid. You know, and you all know how it's doing. You know, how it's always been doing. Alhamdulillah, for, you know, him spearheading that effort. But I went down there, and I had so much fun from the skateboard that I bought and riding up and down those hills that I eventually moved down there and I wanted to be with him. So I was down there for about 7 years, and being, you know, just being close to the family and working, and I had the time of my life. still talking about it. Still thinking about going. It's the only place I would ever go if I ever left Chicago. But he did a Juma. And I remember, I wanted to say this because this is the reason that I came up here. Because he did a Juma that just, I'll never forget. Because a lot of us know that we're in Claire Muhammad School. When Claire Muhammad School kind of like shut down, we were outside of those gates. And it was a big influence on us. It was tough. You know, going into environments that we had no idea about how to deal with. And so he said, in this Juma, I remember like it was yesterday. He said, a lot of you talk and think about like how it used to be and how good it was. And he said, you want to find your way back? He said, you can find your way back. He said, turn to Allah. Ask Him. Ask Him for what you want. He said, why do we get, kind of going a little bit to the side, but why is it that we wait until we get like older and up in age to turn to God and ask Him for what we need? And that's where everything that's good comes from. Ask Him. Turn to Him and ask Him.
That's right.
And it was definitely a big part of the saving force for me. And I know it was, and everyone was full, so I know he affected a lot of other people as well. And I thank Allah for him and his family, and may Allah reward his good works, forgive him his errors, and bless him with a measure of paradise. Amen. Thank you.
Takbir! Takbir! Takbir!
I'm going to speak from a little different perspective than Sister Zakiya and Brother Shamsuddin. Again, I'm going to talk about his life as a person. I had the privilege of growing up in a community where he was a part of it. He and my dad were extremely close to each other during the days of Elijah Muhammad, and my dad served as a mentor for him for years, but that got them to be really, really close. And so when he started to have a family, and they would share, you know, their experiences as parents, as husbands, as parents, you know, it came out that he and Sister Farida wanted to have some time out, and they needed a babysitter. And what we did in our community was when you had a need, the community helped you fulfill that need. And so by him sharing that with my dad, my mom and my dad, they spoke, and next thing I knew, I had a babysitting job. And that was, for me, it was an eye-opener, and it helped to set the stage for the type of teenager I wanted to be and the type of young lady I wanted to be. Your mother always gives you some type of foundation that you use as you pursue your life as a young woman. But and my father, he had his part as far as what I could expect from a husband to be. But seeing Sister Farida and Imam Pasha in their life and the way that they raised their sons and being in the home with them, being there after they left, having them come home and make sure I was good and I was safe and I made it home safely, it just taught me a whole lot about family structure. And I just pray Allah that I can help instill that type of life for my children and grandchildren and all of those that I encounter to this day. He was my extended father. Sister Farida was my second mom. And seeing them with their children, it just helped me to solidify. It's one thing when you're living in a family, but it's another thing when you see a family that's upholding the same type of values that your parents are upholding. That's right. And you say, well, these are just my parents, but to see someone else doing it, it just helps to solidify it. And they say you can judge a tree based on the fruit that it produces. And looking at Sister Malika Omar, who I also, alhamdulillah, got a chance to work for, right after graduating from our school, I worked for her for a couple of years. And working with her, and then working with Imam Pasha and Sister Farida, and seeing their children, the fruits were very well prepared. Very, very well prepared. And, you know, knowing, like Shamsuddin mentioned, how he left our city, and it was our loss, but, you know, Allah blessed us with, you know, a lot of other individuals who brought different quality experiences for us and growth for us. But Atlanta got a gem, got a precious gem with the entire Pasha family. And I wasn't fortunate like Shamsuddin to go down and be with them. So my heart, my prayers were always there, and every time I would see him, it was like we were having a family reunion, you know, and it was a beautiful thing. And again, I saw him as my extended father, and they didn't have any daughters at that time, and so, you know, I was kind of like, you know, I wouldn't say adopted daughter, but, you know, we were close, alhamdulillah. And he'll be missed in the way of his physical presence, but he won't be missed because of all of the seeds that he has sown and all of the beautiful things that have grown from those seeds. And so I pray Allah that he accepts his soul into the Jannah and that forgives him of all of his shortcomings. Allahu Akbar. Ameen.
Takbir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm actually just sharing a few words on behalf of my mother, Sister Amatullah Sharif, who is, as many of you know, ill and could not be here today for the Salat al-Janazah. But she just wanted to say that, you know, Sheikh Pasha was a tireless and dedicated and devoted warrior for Al-Islam. And he gave many, many, many talks and lectures, and just even in conversation, there were ways that the believers benefited from, including herself, that were, you know, excellent, and she was very appreciative of all of the work that he's done, and she just prays that Allah rewards him and that he be well received among the saints, and in paradise, Ameen. And I just really briefly wanted to mention that one of the things that I really saw through Sheikh Pasha's legacy is that he connected with the young people. The young people seemed to really, you know, there was a deep appreciation for him, irrespective of how many years there was a difference in age. You know what I'm saying? And I think, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, but, you know, we're taught that he is not amongst us, he's not of us, believers who are not, you know, patient with the young, are kind to our elders, right? And I think that no matter how, you know, dignified, and even he was one of very few people who were given the rank of sheikh, right?
That's right.
And that's something that we can't sleep on, right? And so even with that, there was still, you know what I'm saying, intergenerational communication and participation, you know. And so that, amongst all the other things that people have said, I think that's important to remember, and that we honor him by continuing his legacy, right? So for all the lives that he touched, inshallah, we continue to honor him by doing that. Thank you.
Takbir.
Assalamu alaikum. God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. I'm going back a little further than all of them did. Because Ibrahim and we went to school together. I remember when he came to Chicago, when his grandmother brought him and his uncles and his cousins and his auntie, brought them all to Chicago. And we all attended the University of Islam at 53rd and Greenwood. So I've been knowing him ever since he's been here. I think he said he came about 12 years old. Imam Omar put a video out that was put out by Sultan Muhammad. And he said that he had joined the Nation of Islam when he was 4 years old. And his grandmother brought him here when he was 12 years old.
Yes.
Well, from 12 years old until this day, I've known Ibraham Pasha. And I knew his family, his wife. I knew them all before they got married. I knew their children. And I just want to say that we thank Allah for bringing him through our lives, because he was an inspiration.
That's right.
He was a great speaker. He was a great leader in the cause of Al-Islam. He loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He loved Imam Wahid Muhammad. He loved Islam. That was his life. He went to Atlanta, like you said, and became Imam there. He even opened up the bakery down there. You know, he kept things going until Imam Marti Muhammad put someone else in that position, but he still get up and give his khutbahs. I would just, if I don't come to the Bahar Center like on Friday, I would listen to the Atlanta Masjid. Because they always, and he was there, they would always give good khutbahs. I love to hear him speak because he had so much passion for this religion. But what I want to say is that his family, I talked to his wife, and she sends everyone the gift. And she thanks everyone for your prayers, your love, and she says she loves us all. And keep them, the family, in our prayers also. Assalamu alaikum.
Takbir!
Bismillah. Somehow the world just seems a little less brighter today.
Yeah, that's right.
A great light in our community is gone out. You know, just reflecting a little bit, going back to Greenwood, because I remember as a teenager coming into the community, and you know, I see Brother Ahmed and Brother Rabani, a few of us here, you know, go back that far, Brother Bashir. And I look at Brother Bashir, and I never forget that time we had to pay for this brother because he beat up his neighbor for because he said something against the Honorable Latin. I know some of these brothers remember that, you know, but that's what we did, you know, because I remember he was like, well, this is our brother, we got to make sure he gets bailed out. But that's the kind of community that we had and that we still do have. And I think Brother Ilias also over there. You know, moving to Atlanta, I had the privilege of being there with him again. And I had some special moments with him. To have private dinner with him on several occasions, just me and him. And then we would bring some of the other imams to have done, you know, and I just felt like I was in heaven just to sit back and be in all this august company and to hear them share so many stories and share their wisdom with me. I just felt so honored and so privileged to be in their company. And I think back on all of the lessons that even coming up when we were on Greenwood, that he would come before the fruit and share so many things, and you know, he was just to help me discover my manhood. And I consider him just a special mentor in my life. And just missing him so much right now, just thinking of him not being here.
Assalamu alaikum. With the name of God, the most merciful benefactor, and the merciful redeemer. All praises are due to Almighty God, Allah, the Lord of all the world. This is a very touched moment for me. Of course, you know, I was born in the Nation of Islam, and we had mentors like Sheikh Shabazz, who taught us Islam. And a lot of us didn't have fathers at the time. He was our father, our friend. I learned Ibraham Pasha. He was always there at the 53rd in Greenwood, there in the basement. So I always got a chance to talk to him one-on-one, asking about a lot of personal questions, meaning like marriage. He was teaching me how to be a young man, but today I try to live up to these great leaders that we had. Because I remember their voices, I watched their examples, and I tried to learn from them. And Pasha was always there. He knew me very young, so he always used to criticize me about a lot of stuff to improve my character. So I went out here one time, we went on a detail. We were looking for somebody to jump on. He jumped on the brother. And so I was messing with him. I said, man, you married, man. I don't think I want to get married. I said, you married, you got to go home to your wife and kids. He said, what you got? You ain't got nothing. He said, you don't have anything. You got to go out and try to wine and dine. I don't have to do that. I got somebody at home with me. I said, you're right. I didn't have anybody, but I thought it was, like Omar would say, you know, out there chase the girls. And he set me straight on that right away. So he told me, he said, you know, Nafis, he said, I said, well, how do you choose? How could you know and find the right one? He said, look. He said, he took his hands like this. And he said, don't get a wife or sister that she's on this level and you down here. He said, what you do, because she's used to that lifestyle up here, and you're not able to take care of it. He said, don't get involved with that sister. He said, but if you bring the sister up to your level, he said she appreciates you better. And so she appreciates you much better. Instead of going out of your means where you know you can't afford and bring her up to your standards of living, and then it'll be okay. So I thanked him for that. He kept me with it. For some reason, he got attached to me. I got attached to him. And we always travel together. You know, we would go around. He'd take me around to different meetings and stuff. Plus my father-in-law, Albert Kareem, at the time, too. So I was blessed. I really had some good leaders, good mentors who kept me in line. Because I was kind of crazy back then. But Allah has blessed me with these men. And when I saw his picture on my Facebook, my heart dropped. Because, I loved him. I really loved him. I believe he loved me. And he made sure I was taken care of. And I just want to share that with you and say, listen, we was blessed, and we're still blessed to have people in our community that's there for you if you accept them to help you. They're not trying to tell you how to live your life, but they can give you some good advice to help you make your decision. Because they understand Islam is a religion that whoso will, let him come. And they knew this. They loved Islam. They loved like Muhammad. They taught. And Abraham was the type of guy, he used to keep Junior and them in check. That's how peaceful and quiet he was. And he kept the lieutenants, Leo, I don't know his name right now, they all worked under him, Hassan. So they knew what type of man he was, quiet spoken man. But when he preached, he's a whole new guy. This brother can fire a fireplace up.
Sure good.
And he mean it, and you can feel his spirit. You can tell he was genuine, he's for real. And that's why I said my example about him, Sheikh Shabazz, Yusuf Shaw, because those are the ones in our life that help this community where it is today, believe it or not. So let us follow example like Imam Omar said, and remember these people that gave their life for, and went to jail for, and didn't hesitate. Because Elijah Muhammad was the man that shook up the world, not Ali. Elijah Muhammad shook the world up. And so we was part of that. And they put it in us, and they gave us the spirit. Right now, I still have that spirit. Thank you. That's all.
Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So those of you that's been out there waiting for me to come up here, I had to wait. You know, Allah says, for the believer to be soft, for the believer to be hard against the disbeliever. Situations like this, I'm soft. Let me say I had to whip somebody one time. I'll whip a disbeliever. But I'm soft on the believers. May Allah forgive him his errors and shortcomings and his sins that he have committed any errors. I love Pasha. You had to respect him.
Yes, sir.
Now religion, it says religion is sincerity. And Pasha was sincere. He was sincere. And he's a product of this community.
That's right.
You know, coming in, I didn't know exactly. I was trying to get that historical background. I knew he had been a long time, and I didn't know he was 4 years old. You know, but I knew he had been in this community for a long time. And we should be proud that this womb that bore Pasha and bore Imam Muhammad and many others, he came out of, he wasn't made by this other world. He was made by this community.
That's right.
And Pasha was a pillar. And we talk about pillars in the community, he was a pillar. When I came in the community, he was the first officer. I was able to move up into ranks to lieutenant and work under him. And he was like Billy Strayhorn was to Duke Ellington. He was a man in the background. But we talked about strategy, and Imam Wardi Muhammad expressed to us about it. He was a strategist. Just a thinker, a smooth thinker. You know, you could always, he was quiet in personality, man always working. And when there was something that needed to be done, Elijah Muhammad too would tell Pasha what needed to be done, and next morning Pasha would have it together. That's right. And it worked. The airplane that we bought for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he saved his days. He would plan those out. He was working in the background.
That's right.
He wasn't a man that was out front. He didn't try to be out front.
That's right.
You know, he was just quietly working in the background. And that's an example for us too. You know, you don't need to be out there. You don't need to be out front.
Right.
You just need to be doing the work. And he did the work. Ain't no doubt about him not doing the work. And he was always working. I can never, if I think about his life, I could never think him not working. And he's always worked for this community. I've never known him to work for nothing else but this community. When he was here, under the Nation of Islam, all he did. When Imam Wardi Muhammad came into office, that's all he did. And he set up a business there in Atlanta and had a bakery shop. So this is a good example to us of a person that came out of this womb, grew, toured, and now has returned to Allah.
That's right.
So by us coming here today and honoring him in this Janazah Salat, we did our duty. This is what we should have done, especially for a person of his caliber.
That's right.
And we should continue to pray Allah for him and all those that are like him, and all those that will come. And we thank Allah. Thank Allah. We thank Allah. We thank Allah for all the brothers and sisters who have made steady on this course. Because I recently came to my mind, I mentioned this before, when Imam Wardi Muhammad came into office, all didn't make that transition. They didn't make that change. And it reminds me in the Quran when Prophet Muhammad was told to change from that Qibla of praying toward Jerusalem, and now I'm going to change your Qibla to one that's most pleasing to you. And we changed. We changed from that Qibla, or that direction, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Ibraham Muhammad put us on, and then changed to the Qibla that was most pleasing to us.
That's right.
And those of us it was pleasing to, we changed. Others didn't change. They were right down the street, a couple blocks away.
Yeah.
Good brothers.
Yeah.
But we were blessed. Those of us that got were blessed.
That's right.
So, loved him. Had to appreciate him. You know, if you didn't love him, you had to appreciate the work he did. All of us make mistakes and errors. We do that. And we ask Allah to forgive us. Ask Allah, all of y'all to forgive. You know, we ask every day. And we make, you know, we make errors. I know my wife, I used to joke sometimes. She said, watch them joking now. You know, some people might not like what you know, that joke you put on. So, you know, we make mistakes, we make errors, and we try to improve. But let me thank every one of us who came out today. And it was one other thing I want to mention to you, because we mentioned about the past. I was listening to the radio today. They played an excerpt from President Roosevelt, and he was making an appeal to the nation at the time. And this was, after the Depression thing. And a couple of points he was making. He said, we can change the situation that we find America in. We have the people to do it. That's right. All we need is the cooperation and the will, of you mighty nation. You can accomplish that.
That's right.
Normally, as a rule, I just sit back and. But Brother Ibrahim was. I knew him when I came into the community. It was in '64, and he was the first officer. And he worked under my wife's uncle, E2 Elijah II, and my father-in-law, Raymond Sharif. And I noticed something about the brother that was dynamic, and like, listen, as Shir said, he was always working. And that's what he, in the 50 years or more that I've known him, that's what he's always done. He's always worked.
That's right.
And I never knew how a powerful speaker, and I was surprised because oftentimes we take each other for granted. Because there's an old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. And we don't know the character and the power that we have among us. We have giants among us. And Ibraham Pasha was one of those giants. And, but he was a speaker, bar none. He would start off real slow and build up to a crescendo. It's like the brother said about Duke Ellington. You just wind it up and get you excited.
Yeah.
But we just got to get into the mode. And Omar said it, we've lost the spirit. I don't know if because we were thinking that God was a man, and when we got into the knowledge of Islam proper, we lost some fire. And I'm looking around now, I'll be 80 next year. And,
Look good, brother.
but I attribute that to that basic knowledge that came from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, how to live,
How do you live?
and
That's
perfect
right.
that.
That's right.
But we've got to really get our game together.
That's right.
Because we've got a lot to give and people waiting on
That's right.
what we have.
right.
If we could take the fire that Brother Ibrahim had and move among these young folks
Hey,
and answer some of the problems that they have,
Yeah.
we start to see some progress.
That's right.
So the brother was a great soldier, a tireless worker, and a strategist, bar none. Because I used to hear my father and Elijah too talk. They would have a problem and they would pass it right to Abraham. He was a solution guy.
That's right.
So only thing I can tell us is that we need to pay attention to what we eat, what we drink, because we got a lot of work.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
when you're not working at full capacity, you're not going to get the job done.
That's right.
So stay healthy, stay careful, and always stay in this thing, because this thing is the solution. Assalamu alaikum.
Takbir! Takbir! Takbir!
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Alhamdulillah, everybody, we're so thankful for all the great and beautiful words that everyone had to share on this wonderful, great pioneer in our community life. And, you know, it has to be understood that this man sacrificed his life to try to teach people how to live and understand God in their life proper. It wasn't that he was just an icon. This man sacrificed. He wanted people to understand who Allah is and what the purpose of life was, that we as a people can have a better life. And he worked, you know, I think about you pioneers, this brother worked all the way up until the last Sunday he gave a talk and he passed that following week. I was listening to Imam Rashad on the speaker the other day, and he was saying that he worked all the way up until he passed. He said he saw him, I think, like the day before or something like that. He came and he gave him greetings or something like that, and he passed. And I thought about it. I said, you know what? I said, that's the way. I think about my grandma's sister Aisha in Philadelphia. She had a bad back problem. I mean, her back killed her so much, but she would get up and she would go and cook for that masjid in Philadelphia until Allah called her. When she passed away working. And I'm going to tell you something, dear believers. I tell everybody, I'm not doing this thing for myself. I'm doing this because we need to have a community life. It saddens me when I sit back and get up on a Sunday morning and I ride past these church parking lots and I see all of the cars filled up. And then I come here to our own center, it's like 4 people on the floor. Like everybody got the deen. We all got it. You know, we don't even try to pack our own community. And then we appoint to Atlanta. Everybody point to Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? And I say, wow, you're pointing away from your own home. If you want Atlanta, then make Atlanta here in Chicago too. We could do it. We can sit back and establish a community life and have something for us. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm working with pioneers. Y'all some hard-working people. I thank Allah for all of you all pioneers. And y'all, when I say pioneers, I'm working with some people. When they tell me what the age they are, I am shocked. Because these sisters still look good. I be like, wow, you what? Shoot. Yes, ma'am.
You know, you mentioned about people saying, well, I've got the dean. I heard the same teachings that you heard and all that. This is not about us.
Yeah.
It's not about us coming out and sitting with each other just to say we're here on a Sunday or on a Friday. It's about us doing the work that this represents.
That's
and
right.
if we want to be empowered to be able to do the work, we need to collectively come together.
We do.
And we need to pack the house for that reason.
That's right. That's right.
Not just for us in this room.
That's right. You know, Imam Sultan said that, he said that when we was trying to find a place to have, we wanted to have a place that would serve all of our total community life. So he didn't want to build have a place as a masjid. He said, but when these walls get to the point where we start swelling up like we was on Ashland, and the sisters used to complain about the brothers coming in the kitchen, bumping up against them. There was no room. We was getting full. The walls started to swell up. And then we expanded. And we'd expand when we filled this place up. And I let the believers know this is the only place in the city of Chicago that's paid for, owned by our community, managed by us, and financed by all you pioneers who gave y'all zakat. I see the zakat, the money that comes in here. I see y'all donations. So I know who this belongs to. But I'm glad you trust me to be the custodial of it for you, and I'm gonna protect this interest. I'm gonna protect it, and I'm gonna work hard that we have something in the city of Chicago that belongs to us, and work with other like-minded people in our community, as long as they're not trying to undermine the efforts of our leadership or our direction of what we're trying to accomplish. I'm gonna work hard to work with them. Yes. This is ours. And you should want it. Them computers downstairs should be running. Somebody, well, you know, we need an after-school program. There's so many social issues that needs to be addressed. And every time you all talk to a Christian and they hear your message, they say, wow, I never thought about it like that. They always say that. Why is they saying that? Because we have something to offer the society.
That's right.
And we can't do it by undermining each other, pulling each other this way and not understanding. We got leadership, knowledgeable leadership. We should trust it. That's the only way we're going to move forward. So, dear believers, when the Ibraham Pasha called, it's in that text out. And yesterday, I thought about I had to text him back, right? I text you back, and I said, you know what? We got to have a Janazah Salat for our brother. We got to have a Janazah Salat for our brother. And I told the leadership here, Lawrence and everybody else, I said, anytime somebody in our community passed, we're going to make sure we have Janazah Salat. And I'm going to tell you something, especially those people that work close with me, I want to honor you. Allah calls you, I want to honor you in that Janazah. Because I really appreciate all the hard work and all the sacrifices that you all made. I want to let everybody know about you. Thank you, dear believers. May Allah continue to bless us, to continue to give us the strength and the will to grow, to work together, to have love in our heart for one another, to have a vision and ideas on how we can push forward and put all these ideas in play. And we have a lot of leadership here, imams and others. And, you know, listen, I'm just letting you know, Imam Rabbani and all the other imams, that we want you to be on a regular basis. We want you to be able to share what you have with our community. We want to teach our community, and we want to teach the outer community. Yeah. So, dear believers, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.